Thanks for joining us from the Ohio AgNet Voice You Know with the News You Trust studio, sponsored by the Family Forest Carbon Program, where we help family forest owners get paid to improve the health of their woods. I am Allison Kenny. Let's check in with Dusty for a preview in the May 1st Cattle on Feed report.
The USDA's May 1 Cattle on Feed report comes out tomorrow, and it's expected to be neutral to somewhat bullish. Lately, the biggest concern has been the industry's placements, and following last month's jump in placements, seeing a decline in those numbers will likely sit well with traders. Aside from seeing fewer cattle marketed in sale barns in April, the other major factor affecting placements at this point has been the reduced imports of feeder cattle from Mexico. Now, tomorrow's report will likely be viewed as favorable by the market, but with the markets closed on Monday for the Memorial Day holiday, it's not likely that that report will have much effect on the cattle marketplace until Tuesday. For the Ohio AgNet, I'm Dusty Sonnenberg.
Thank you, Dusty. Now let's take a look into some other news headlines. The U.S. House of Representatives early Thursday passed President Donald Trump's budget reconciliation bill of tax cuts, farm bill improvements, and cuts to social programs on the 214 to 1 vote after forcing overnight debate on the legislation. The One Big Beautiful Bill was named by President Donald Trump's description of it, cuts taxes by $3.78 billion over 10 years, but also cuts roughly $1.2 trillion in spending on programs such as Medicaid and nutrition programs. The floor debate began around 1:45 a.m. on Thursday after the House Rules Committee wrapped up its marathon hearing on the bill that had begun just after midnight on Wednesday to debate a slew of Democratic criticisms and more than 500 amendments that were all expected to eventually be rejected. The hearing continued nonstop until the late evening. House Agriculture Committee Chairman Glenn Thompson issued a statement immediately after the bill's passage. The One Big Beautiful Bill Act delivers on the mandate voters gave President Donald Trump and Republicans by stopping tax hikes, reining in spending, investing in rural America, and restoring integrity to programs like SNAP. And I look forward to working with the Senate to get this on the president's desk. The bill includes provisions to boost the farmer safety net through both improvements to commodity programs and premium subsidies for crop insurance. The Congressional Budget Office detailed farmer safety net provisions such as increasing reference price under the price loss coverage and boosting the bandwidth of agricultural coverage would increase spending for those programs $52.3 billion over 10 years. Spending for USDA trade promotion programs would increase $2 billion over 10 years. Also under agriculture, the bill cuts spending for the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program by $294 billion over 10 years. The bulk of those savings, $128.3 billion, would come by requiring states to provide 5% to 25% cost share for SNAP benefits.
Many drugs, like cocaine, methamphetamine, and non-prescription pills, are often cut with dangerous opioids like fentanyl. As a result, nearly 14 Ohioans die daily from unintentional overdoses. That's why it's important to carry naloxone, such as Narcan, a life-saving medication that blocks the effects of fentanyl and other opioids. Over the last 5 years, naloxone has saved over 83,000 lives. Help save lives and visit naloxone.ohio.gov to learn more and find free naloxone. Remember, if you see an overdose occurring, always call 911.
Let's check in with our weekly update from the Ohio Soybean Council and your checkoff dollars at work.
I'm joined today by Dr. Horacio Lopez Nicora. Horacio is our soybean pathologist and nematologist. Horacio, it's been an interesting planting season this year so far. On again, off again. Some folks got out there early and really have nice-looking crops. Others got in maybe a little bit later. Crops are struggling from the wet weather, and some, that crop is still in the bag. It hasn't even hit the ground yet. Let's start off and talk about the growing season and what we find when we're out there scouting some of those newly emerged seedlings.
Definitely. Plants are emerging, and unfortunately, some are not. And that's sometimes a big concern, what's going on. And what I do normally is I focus on pathogens that may affect either the seed or the seedling as they're coming up, or just after emergence, and pathogens that may affect those seedlings and unfortunately kill them and reduce stand by doing so. You mentioned persistent cool and wet conditions across Ohio, very wet, and when we encounter poorly drained soil, we run into those fields with sitting water and cool soil temperatures. So that's just conducive environmental conditions for seedling diseases if we have a susceptible host, a susceptible soybean plant, and if we have the pathogen or pathogens, right? That seeding water always reminds us of the water molds. We have the Pythium and Phytophthora that thrive in poorly drained, compacted soil. So that's the main thing that we should think when we suspect seedling disease.
Again, my guest today is Dr. Horacio Lopez Nakora, soybean pathologist and nematologist at The Ohio State University with OSU Extension. And today's update brought to you by the Ohio Soybean Council and your soybean checkoff.
This market report is brought to you by Seed Consultants, simply better performance. Online at seedconsultants.com. July corn up 2 even at $4.63. December corn down 2 1/4 at $4.53 1/4. July soybeans up 4 3/4 at $10.67 1/2. November soybeans up 3 even at $10.55 1/4. July wheat down 4 3/4 at $5.44 1/2. September wheat down 3 1/4 at $5.60 1/2. June live cattle up $1.47 at $215.62. August live cattle up $1.85 at $210.50. And June lean hogs down 82 cents at $98.70. This is the Ohio AgNet.